the Oscars. They've been released. The nominations.
Yeah, I read them and then I kind of forgot about them immediately.
Well, yeah, you sent me the link and I read all of them.
yeah, I sent you the link and then I didn't even... I mean, I did read them, but I wasn't really paying attention. I wasn't, committing it to memory.
I mean, talk about snubs, eh? Like, that's the thing about this. Like, apparently there's a lot of snubs, and there's snubs every year, and it's just funny to watch people freak out about stuff, and it's like, does it really matter? Because, like, if this one actress or actor doesn't get nominated, because they're not going to win. I guess it's an honour to be nominated, but it's like, the Oscar for Best Actor, it's going to be Christian Bale for his role as Dick Cheney. You can book that
all right.
Right now.
Is it your lock of the week?
It is my lock of the week. I've got a massive padlock with me.
Is this what's almost like it's a shoe-in? I give this one a shoe-in. It brings up a massive shoe.
Yeah. So there you go. That is my take on the Oscars. And also,
my favourite thing about the Oscars is there's like a lot of people out there who think that that there's this massive pressure to give Black Panther the Best Picture because of racism. So basically, there's a load of conservatives who have like perpetuated this narrative. I've seen all these memes on because I'm a bit of a centrist when it comes to my Facebook meme pages. I like to get all of the different valuable meme things. So I see a lot of conservative memes, and they're all like, liberals are desperate to give Black Panther, or like, the Oscars, they're trying so hard to not be racist that they're definitely going to give Black Panther the Best Picture. I'm like, I don't think anybody thinks, like, realistically. I mean, like, it could, but, like, let's be honest. It's a Marvel film. It's not. Yeah, exactly. And it's got
no
like
chances of it winning.
Race could not be more irrelevant. It's just the fact it's a Marvel film. Anyway.
Yeah. Also, that's the thing. Like, I was looking on comment sections on the internet and on Twitter, and the thing that people were most mad about, apart from the snubs, was Black Panther. Like, how did Black Panther get nominated? Like, it was the most awful thing ever. Like, for some reason, nobody cares that Vice, which has got like 68% on Rotten Tomatoes, nobody cares that got nominated. But Black Panther, how dare it get nominated? Like, okay.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back up, chump, Biggie Smalls rips it quick and kicks it quick. You know how black niggas get. With the hoods, fatigues, with the boots, with trees. Flipping trees, making crazy G's. Hitting buckshots at niggas that open spots on the avenue. Take my loot and I'm bagging. Pimping hoes that drive Volvos and rodeos. Flash the roll, make a wreck in they pantyhose. Damn, a nigga style is unorthodox, grip the clock. When I walk down the crowded block. Just in case a nigga wanna act out, I just black out, blow the motherfucking back out. That's a real nigga for you.
Hello, and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema and see if they still hold up upon a second watch. This week, we are looking at The Lego Movie to celebrate the release of The Lego Movie as well. I mean, 2.
Yeah,
not
well done.
T-O-O.
Absolutely.
T-W-O. Yeah, why don't you tell us... I'm your host, Michael. I'm joined as always by my co-host, Luke. Why don't you tell us a thing or two about the Lego Movie 1, Luke?
That joke really stopped you in your tracks, didn't it?
Yeah, I know. Well, I was just in awe how funny it was. But in my head, I imagined if it was called 2, as in the different kind of 2. Lego Movie 2, 2 bricky, 2 plasticky.
Okay, so the Lego Movie is a 2014...
Lego Movie 2 Kyo Drift.
Oh my god. Do they have the licenses for Fast and Furious?
I don't know really how it works, because at first, like when I was watching the film, I was thinking like, they're only doing Warner Brothers properties. But then Star Wars shows up, and I'm like, okay, so it's anything that Lego is licensed. But to be honest, I mean, like I can't imagine many Fast and Furious Lego sets. Basically, it would just be cars, and I think they already have a Cars. I mean, like not Pixar's Cars. I mean, the concept of Cars. They already have a Cars brand. Anyway, yeah, tell me about it.
Okay, so the Lego Movie is a 2014 3D computer animated adventure comedy. It is written and directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, and it is based on the Lego line of construction toys. Don't know if you knew that. Like, these are actually toys, yeah.
I thought those were just merchandise after the success of this film.
The movie stars Chris Pratt, Will Ferrell, Elizabeth Banks, Will Arnett, Nick Offerman, Alison Brie, Charlie Day, Liam Neeson, and Morgan Freeman. It was released on the 7th of February 2014, so almost 5 years ago. And Michael, do you want to have a guess at the old budget?
Oh, well, I mean, it was an animated film. It must have been much. I'm going to assume it cost more than, like, back in the day when people used to make little stop-motion Lego films on YouTube. And they were
I'd
just
say
awful.
so. Yeah.
But it probably cost more than that. So I'm going to guess over 100 million. I think this film must have cost over 100 million just because it looks like, I don't know. I feel like it would have been quite crazy to animate. Maybe that's just me, though. So I'm going to go just over 100 million because that seems more reasonable. So I'm going to go 110 million.
Only 60 to 65 million.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Still, that definitely fits my first guess of being more than random stop-motion Lego films on YouTube.
Okay, so you were half right then, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what you could say, yeah.
But I don't think it made as much money as, those random stop-motion, I mean, remember back in the day on YouTube when they didn't even have the concept of making money off YouTube? I mean, where would we be without being able to make money off of YouTube, eh? I'm sure we'd make at least a couple of half pennies.
So all those early content creators then were censored, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they couldn't make money, so yeah.
Yeah, it was censored.
And they were all conservatives, I assume.
Of course.
So,
box office, Michael.
box office.
How much did it make?
I think this made quite a lot. I think it made over 500 million. Let's just go for. I mean, I don't want to be too crazy, so I think I'm going to be quite conservative and go for what feels like a 650 million.
470.
Okay, that's good. Well, I'm glad I didn't go too mental.
Yeah, it was more than you said, but yeah, it's still obviously a very good amount and turned a very healthy profit. I'm sure the good people at LEGO will be happy with the amount they raked in at the box office.
Yeah, and at Warner Brothers.
And at Warner Brothers, of course, yes.
Yes. But the most important question is, did you like this film, Luke?
You know what, Michael? I did like this film. I did like it.
Yeah, okay. I also like this film. This was one of those films, I'm just going to give quite a bit away in my summary. It was one of those films where I feel like I felt very conflicting opinions about different parts of the film. Namely, the first half of the film I wasn't that fond of. The second half of the film I was much more fond of. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that if the whole film was like the first half, I would say I didn't like this film. If the whole film was like the second half, I would say I really liked this film. As things happened, I would just say I did like the film. But
okay.
Well, the real question is, did Dylan like this film?
Well, we'll get into that later as well.
Did you get around to contacting him?
I did, yes.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm excited.
Give me some interesting thoughts. He did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did he say that it wasn't as good as Daddy's Home?
Yeah, probably. I mean, he likes Will Ferrell. You know what? I'll text him that right now.
Yes.
This is live. Was it as good as Daddy's Home?
But no matter how much this film was never quite as good as Daddy's Home, the real question we have to ask is, did you have any nitpicks, Luke?
I did. I've got 3. Really?
Okay, I've only got 1. I was drawing blanks on the old nitpicks, and the only one I got was pretty bad. Sometimes I want to have one, even if it's bad. I've got a quota to fill, and that's that it was a really inefficient use of glue that was being presented in this film. Obviously, the concept of using glue to put a Lego set together would be you'd use glue like cement, but these fucking madmen are just pouring glue all over like an entire Lego set, and it was, just stupid. What you'd actually do is you deconstruct it, put glue into the different parts, and then put it back together. I mean, I don't think glue's I don't think it would even hold something in place if you just sprayed it all over it. You'd have to get it in there.
Wow.
So what are your 3, Luke? Oh, let's be honest, 2, because I'm sure that was one of your nitpicks.
It wasn't, so Michael. Yeah, bit of a shock. Yeah, that wasn't actually one of my nitpicks. That the use of glue wasn't very efficient. Okay, so my nitpicks. First one, Emmett is concerned about breaking the instructions when he flies through the secret tunnel. Do you remember
that? Secret tunnel. Oh, you mean the secret tunnel at the beginning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's not. So he says to Wildstyle, it's like, oh no, the instructions say we're not allowed to go through the tunnel or go out of the city or whatever. I got a text from Dylan. Oh, this is interesting. I'll let you know what his thoughts about Daddy's Home in this video are later. Okay.
Yes.
But he doesn't really care about evading the police, which is surely also against the instructions.
That's true, yeah. He's inconsistent.
He's inconsistent, yeah. Where did Wildstyle get all of the footage of Emmett to run in her emergency broadcast?
I don't know.
Yeah. Go on, Michael.
Police state. Orwellian.
Yeah, Orwellian police state, yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
This is essentially a commercial for Lego, Michael. This is my final
That's
tip.
it, yeah.
And let's not forget that. Like, it's a good movie and all, but we shouldn't become known for when art is so brazenly bastardized into commercialization.
I guess that's a very important point, because a lot of people would have gone into this film with a very cynical attitude. And I think that's something that we should bear in mind as we move into the plot, Luke, which you, of course, do need to summarize.
Yes. We haven't summarized the plot yet, have we?
Yeah. It's just, the plot is just comes up at some point.
Yeah.
Inconsistently at various times throughout our various podcasts.
Okay. So, the plot. The story focuses on an ordinary Lego minifigure, who is called Emmett, who finds himself being the only one to help a resistance stop a tyrannical businessman from gluing everything in the Lego worlds into his vision of perfection. So, yeah, the evil guy is called Lord Business or President Business, and he's trying to glue everything because he wants everything to be perfect and everything in the right place, and he doesn't want any individual
in its right place.
He doesn't want any individual expression.
Jinx. Yeah. Now you can't talk for the rest of the podcast. This will be a good podcast because I just jinxed you.
Yeah, you did. Can you release me, please?
Yeah, but I can't. I don't know how you feel about me saying your full name, so I'll just say Luke.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right to do that. Thanks. So anyway, Michael, that's the plot. Now on to what did you think of the plot? So you said before you liked the first half.
Oh no, I said yeah. Okay,
you
so
said the exact opposite. Yeah,
I think one of the things I want to talk about first, actually, Luke, is I do kind of want to talk a bit about the underlying cynicism, because here's the thing, okay, Luke, I don't, as you know, I quite rarely go to see films in the cinema. It's not my scene. I don't like investing too much of like my enjoyment in the actions of random strangers, because if all they have to do is, all it takes is one dick and the whole experience is ruined. Unless you are that dick, in which case it's great. So that's why I figure, like, yeah, only dicks must go to the cinema, because, they're like, oh, I'll just be the dick. Anyway, so basically I went to see Frozen for a variety of reasons, none of which I'll divulge, but while I was there, obviously they had the little trailers, and they had the Lego movie, and I thought to myself, the trailer I saw, I thought, wow, that looks absolutely awful. Like, I was like groaning in the cinema as I was watching it, feeling
in the Frozen movie.
Yeah, but like so for the trailer, when I was watching the Frozen movie, I
know. So you were just groaning, and there was a bunch of kids around you.
Oh yeah.
Just setting the scene. Okay.
I was going, oh. I jizzed myself in cynicism, and then, obviously, film came out. I didn't really think about it until later on. Some YouTubers did their top 10 films of the year, and like some of them, I mean, obviously, mostly the YouTubers who keep their top 10 limited to box office films and don't really talk about fancy art house films, mentioned the Lego movie, relatively low, like in the 10, 9, 7. I mean, when I say low, I mean high. Low on the list, high in the ranking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, what you mean.
You know what I mean. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So apparently it's a good film. So I want to clarify, even though I was cynical, I went into this with a pretty open mind. I wasn't like, oh yeah, I hate this. And I ended up watching it on Amazon Prime when my sister had an Amazon Prime trial, and I was like, oh well, I watched the Lego movie, and I watched it, and basically, okay, so let's talk about now. I'll actually talk about this film. Okay, so this film is very insincere in that, like, the whole thing is kind of like almost a parody of a narrative, in that, like, the whole thing is you have this character who by definition is really just normal and uninteresting, and then he finds out due to this MacGuffin that he is the most special, magical, fantastic person in the universe, and there's a bad guy called Lord Business, which we'll get into later, and like the entire thing is very much like and everyone's really happy, and then, like, the whole thing, it kind of feels like intentionally it's taking the most basic, bare bones plot idea and kind of poking fun at it. But from my perspective, I just couldn't really dig the film, like, at the beginning, because it just felt so like it was basically just one long joke for me. The first half was just like, look at this guy, everyone's so happy here, he's really happy, oh, look at him be happy, just walking around. feeling happy. Oh, and then something bad happens. In my head, I had a very clear idea. This was going to be a very convincing explanation of why the first half of the film is bad. But now I'm thinking about it. I might need you to say a few things so I can bounce off you, Luke.
Okay.
So, what did you think of the first half?
Well, I'll just forget what you said, and I'll just go from my point of view.
Yeah, forget everything I said.
Yeah, just put it out of my mind. I really like all of this film. I enjoyed the first half. I enjoyed the second half, because the first half really, okay, you start off, which I enjoyed, like a deconstruction of modern life. So Emmett, like, when he gets up, go about his day, he watches like the standard like sitcom on TV. Like, there's a poster that says, "Enjoy popular music, root for the local sports teams." You know, everyone in society is like a mindless follower, and you know that immediately that makes me feel like, oh, this is different. This is not what I expected. Then you got, obviously, like you said, this movie feels like a parody. Like, what do you say about the protagonist again?
To be honest, I can't exactly remember what I said. So, but I said he was just. See, I felt like the way you're acting as if I said something clever means I probably said something more clever than this. In my mind, I just remember saying that he was just ridiculously like normal. But
well, you said it's like a parody. That's what you said.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't. Yeah.
I agree with that. I liked it. Like, in these kind of movies, obviously, there's the parody. Sorry, there's not a parody. It's like played unironically. But in this movie, it is a deconstruction of the protagonist. You know, every protagonist from every one of these movies is boring, you know, and unspectacular. But they exaggerate Emmett's boringness and how average he is. And I do like that. Like, it's, it does deconstruct the state of the modern blockbuster in that regard. And also, I guess, with the prophecy thing as well. Like, it does parody
the prophecy thing. That's,
But then it does turn out that the prophecy is actually real. Like, it's meant to be made up, but it also ends up being true.
It's the old whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. It's that old chestnut.
So it's it's self-aware in some places, and in the prophecy bit, it tries to have it both ways. Like, it tries to mock the prophecy thing, but then the prophecy thing ends up actually being true. But yeah, I really did like how the satire that this movie portrayed, and how the satire was good, and it was parodying stuff, and it's ironic. Obviously, it was deconstructing these things when obviously Emmett's a construction worker and you'd build stuff with Lego. So there you go. There's something ironic for you.
Yes, but yeah, I liked the construction idea of like the idea that there are construction workers and they use instructions to build, because that's what I used to do. Like, because obviously I was all about playing with Lego, and I used to have a little Lego City construction set with a little dump truck, and I'd open my little whatever set I was building. I'd get out my construction guys. I'd open a bag. I'd empty the bag into the dump truck. I'd drive the dump truck over. Obviously when I was 19, whatever. Drive the dump truck. When I was much younger than I am now. Drive the dump truck over to the construction site. Empty it out. Get all my little builders going in, building. Those ridiculously overpriced Lego models.
Okay, yeah, that's all good, Michael. But why? So I just
Why? Okay. See, the thing is, part of it, I'll admit, is in some sense very subjective. The problem is the film in the beginning, it kind of just felt a bit too wink, wink, nudge, nudgy to me. It was like,
well, that was what it was meant to be.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, obviously, a film can be what it's meant to be, and still, I'm actually leading on to a slightly better criticism. But a film can be what it's meant to be, but obviously, what it's meant to be isn't that great. But I think the other problem I had, and it's kind of hard to talk about. It's slightly easier to contrast it with the second half of the film, so I'll just briefly mention one of the things I like about the second half of the film before going into more detail. One of the things I liked about the second half of the film is how much of the second half of the film was like satirical ideas and comical ideas and kind of parody ideas, but very much specifically related to the medium of Lego. And I can actually have like quite a long list of all the things that I like about that. But in the first half, there are also things I like about that. But the problem is, like, a lot of the initial satire is like what seems to me kind of out of place satire that's very generic, just about society, like consumerism and things like that. And then on top of that, it felt kind of like not very inventive. Like, people have been doing this stuff ever since, and I hope you know this film, John Carpenter's 1980s film, They Live. It's
I think
it's
I've
a
heard
very
of it.
famous film where a guy gets a pair of sunglasses which allow him to see like that the entire world is secretly being brainwashed through advertising and stuff, and he puts on the sunglasses and he can see everything in the actual language because he finds out the Earth is actually like 10% of the Earth's population are aliens, and they're using mind control to trick the 90% of people. And he gets these glasses that let him see any alien language, and he looks at a billboard and it's like consume. Anyway,
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that the satire in the beginning is unoriginal.
it's unoriginal, and it's very base level. It's like look, he's really, everyone's really happy all the time. It's really kind of it. Like, okay, so the other example I can think of in the film I have to compare this to, actually, I think this is probably a good comparison, is the film The Lorax? I guess maybe you haven't seen it, but the basic idea of
No, I've heard of it. Yeah.
the idea of it is like it's so like base. Every single bit of the film is like there's a guy called who's like a really over the top businessman. He's like, I only care about money, blah blah blah. And then there's a really generic love triangle and all that stuff, and it's really bad. But the thing is, again, it kind of does the whole, it's satirical, but then doesn't go much beyond that. And the Lorax never goes beyond that, which is why I don't like the Lorax all the way through. This film does eventually go beyond that. But so first, I guess here's what I'm saying, okay? This is probably a better way of looking at it. I think that given the rest of the film, the first half is redeemed, but what I'm kind of saying is I would not blame somebody who's going into this film for the first time, not knowing much about it, getting about half an hour through and thinking, it's just, not really liking it. I think that looking at it on hindsight, it gets better because like it gets more kind of like stuff is going on. But at the beginning, it's like, okay, so this is just, and I think, I don't know, it seems to have become like a recurring phenomenon of like films doing very basic reductionist plot points and then just saying like, it's satirical. And that's something I've noticed. So that's probably part of the problem, that like a lot of the time,
I was going to say, like, you had late 90s films, like, mocking modern life.
like Fight Club.
But like Fight Club,
Yeah.
that comes to mind. But I don't remember, like, a parody of a protagonist like Emmett, like, just completely exaggerating how boring and how average he is. Like, I don't remember that, or anything like that, to be honest. I mean, maybe you can point me in the direction of something where they satirize how every one of these like movies, the protagonist is just such a normal guy. He's got nothing going on, but in fact he's actually special. And they take that to the 10th degree with this movie, with Emmett.
Yeah, I think taking it to quite this degree is rare. I think the main thing I didn't like, I should clarify, the thing with Emmett is better. One of the things that I thought was like kind of silly about, or like I wasn't that fond of Emmett at the beginning, was the way like he was inexplicably just outcast by everyone. And again, I guess you could maybe say, because like for example, like even though there's nothing wrong with him strictly speaking, everyone's just like, Emmett, I hate that guy. But aside from that, the main thing I didn't like was like the satire of, I felt the satire of society was more overplayed. I think the satire of the character himself was more original. That's at least my thoughts. But anyway, I do want to clarify that at some point we should probably move into the parts of the film I liked, because I don't want to get stuck in too much of a quagmire complaining about a part of the film that I wasn't too worried about. It's fine.
I'm just saying, I get the deconstruction of modern life thing, like satirizing modern life. Yeah, it is. Okay, you couldn't say it's unoriginal. I don't think it's as unoriginal as you think, but like I haven't seen anything satirizing a protagonist.
Yeah, I guess part of the thing is like if that was all this film had to offer, was just the pure satire and none of like number one, the actual plot, and number two, the specific relation to Lego as a franchise or as like a toy and like things you do that. If it didn't have either of those two things and it was just pure satire, then even while I could say it achieved its purpose, I still would just say that it wasn't my cup of tea. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe obviously, I guess in your case, like I said, for example, if the whole film was like the first half, then I wouldn't like this film. And obviously, I guess you'd probably disagree with that. And in my case, it is literally just because I think if the film was, I kind of like the idea of satire being a part of a wider story, and then obviously, you can appreciate the wider story and the satire like for example, Get Out. I know it's obviously a really good film, so maybe a bit of an unfair comparison, but obviously Get Out had lots of satirical elements, but also an actual plot. And in this case, if the whole film is just, oh look, it's all of the generic things from every other film, but exaggerated, and then nothing else like to actually set it apart, then I'd be like, eh. So from my attitude, from that perspective, I'm thinking like until there's something that actually is happening, so I can be like, okay, I'm appreciating the satire, and also there's other stuff going on. Until that point, I'm thinking, okay, it's satire. I get what they're doing, but it's not that engaging for me.
Yeah, because it's just the satire,
yes,
so you want more.
So
okay.
The satire itself. Although I still do think that some of like the everyone's really happy all the time has been done, but the Emmett stuff hasn't. So anyway, stuff I will go into the stuff I liked now. So the main thing I really liked about this film was the number of like clever ways it kind of played on Lego as a thing that you can use. For example, the best thing they had at the beginning was like the idea of instructions. But what I like about that is when they bring it in later, where they say that there's this idea of a master builder. And a master builder is somebody who can build without the instructions. And I thought that idea was really neat because obviously, with Lego, you can be one of the people who just gets a set and you build things as the instructions say you should build them, and then you say, "Oh, that's my set. I've constructed it as the instructions demanded, and isn't it great?" And then at that point, it's pretty much just like any other toy. So you get your Hogwarts castle, you build your Hogwarts castle, and at that point, you might as well have just bought a Hogwarts castle because the fact it's Lego isn't really relevant because you've already built it. And then of course, but what most people do is they'll combine things. That's the great thing everyone likes about Lego. You can mix things up, build new things, let your imagination run wild. And I like the idea that thing, which is a very relatable experience to anyone who's used Lego, the idea that you can just use the instructions, and that's kind of one way of doing things. But then if you're exciting, if you're cool, if you think outside the box, then you make something not using the instructions. It's completely from your imagination. I like the idea that the master builder, which is a concept in this that is kind of like, I don't know, their version of a wizard or whatever. A master builder is somebody who can just see and imagine and construct epic, incredible things just straight from their mind. I thought that was really neat.
Okay.
And then the flip side is, or the alternative force being the glue, the idea that there's this construction glue that's used to glue things together. And that's something that I know of people doing. Like people who build Lego sets and then just glue them as they're building them, so they stay together permanently. And I think, again, it's kind of more of a thing, and this makes sense, obviously, it's more of a thing with older people who build Lego for the sake of models rather than for the sake of playing with them. Obviously, have you ever been to Legoland, Luke?
I have not been to Legoland.
I've been to Legoland. Basically, in Legoland, they have a Lego version of like London that's been built, with Lego, and it's obviously really small.
I'd assume it would be like it.
Yeah. And obviously with that, they have glued it down so that nobody can just steal Buckingham Palace or whatever. So obviously, so if your purpose with Lego is to build it and display it as a model rather than play with it, then maybe you'll glue it down. And I thought that idea that craft glue was going to be the thing that destroyed the world was pretty neat. And basically, summary is that the main conflict of this film is the creativity is what's going to be destroyed, and they have to defend the creativity. And that makes sense because Lego is one of those things where the whole thing is, you build new wonderful things. Anything to say about that?
No, I get it. Yeah, that's why you like it. It's a clever idea. Like, what's gonna, the battle between the creativity of the child and like the orderliness. Is that a word in there? The orderliness?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think what else would be the equivalent. Like, what would be a more grammatically correct way of saying the same thing as orderliness? I'm 99% sure orderliness is not a word, but I can't think of any better. I feel like order. Actually, order works fine. It's creativity and order.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, the creativity of the child and the order of the adult.
Yeah.
And the battle between those two, the imagination of the child and the structure.
Yes.
Of the adult, and obviously that's played out with the battle between Lord Business and Emmett. Also, a couple of other things which I did
Yeah,
like.
I have a few more things I like too, but I'll let you. Yeah,
Oh, maybe this part.
I think so. I'd be surprised if
No.
you. I'd be surprised if you don't say one of the things I liked.
I was going to say Cloud Cuckoo Land.
Okay, that's slightly different. Cloud Cuckoo Land. I didn't. Okay, here. I'm going to make a criticism actually. I was going to maybe save criticism for the characters, but one of the things that kind of bothered me about this film was the fact that you basically had the same joke 4 times, twice for worlds and twice for characters. And what I mean by that, and it's again, I feel like I've said this several times, but it's the idea of everyone being really over enthusiastic and over happy. And maybe I'll put the character. Well, I'll bring the character one up now. But so obviously, in the world that Emmett is from, there's a song, and it's "Everything is awesome," and everyone's really happy all the time. Oh, I love "Everything is awesome." Everyone does this big singing, dancing routine, and then he goes to this place called Cloud Cuckoo Land, where everyone's really happy. It's kind of like the same thing twice, and then. With the characters, you've got Emmett, who his whole thing is he's really happy. He's like, everything's awesome, yeah. And then you have Benny, and he's also really happy. I mean, it didn't bother me like that much. I'm not saying this was some kind of massive thing, but I don't know. Like that was the first thing I thought with Cloud Cuckoo Land. I thought to myself, hold on a minute, we've already had this joke of like a world where everyone's really happy. That was the original world, wasn't it? I don't know. What did you want to say there?
Yeah, well, Cloud Cuckoo Land was, I think it was like a metaphor for, well, it was basically mocking like fiction that doesn't deal with real issues in the world. So, like, the cat, I don't know what she was called, but she said there's no government, no sadness, no moustaches, which I think was a reference to Hitler.
I don't know.
I think it was.
Could be. That doesn't sound unreasonable.
There's like, everything here is a good idea, and like, there's no consequences for anything, and it's like, yeah, okay, right. Let's, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think that's what it was saying. Like, you can't put your head up in Cloud Cuckoo Land.
Yeah.
And, and forget about the real issues, or don't relate your piece of work to the real issues going on in everyday society. And you shouldn't do that. And I think that was basically what that place was, the point of that place was.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only thing there would be, like, what the I think like there wasn't necessarily much of a narrative need for that place. I guess that's the only thing, because I don't think any character really was needing to learn that lesson. So I don't know. I mean, I think it was a neat world, but yeah, I was actually expecting it when I first saw it to be kind of like a satire of the female gendered version of Lego, especially seeing as. So there's this thing. There's an Anita Sarkeesian. I was going to say, if you know who Anita Sarkeesian is, of course you know who Anita Sarkeesian is.
Yeah, of course.
So she did a video on like.
Just tell for everyone who doesn't know who she is.
She is a feminist cultural critic, who was most famous for starting a series where she criticized video games, which in many ways was one of the catalysts for the phenomenon of Gamergate. And she made a video before she started the whole Gamergate thing, or inadvertently started the whole Gamergate thing by being a woman who had an opinion. She made a video on Lego where she was basically just complaining that Lego used to be marketed in a very gender neutral way as like a game that's fun for the whole family, and this was back in like the 60s. It was like, use Lego, create all these wonderful things, and they had this family playing. And then progressively Lego became more and more marketed to boys with like Star Wars and things like that. And I was like, get a new Bionicle, they'll fight each other. Build a sports car. And then they released this thing called Lego Friends, which was for girls, and it was basically nothing like Lego, because like none of the pieces could be put together, and the characters were like much bigger than Lego places, and I thought maybe they'd do a satire of that, but they didn't, which is fine, because I guess not many people know about Lego Friends, because it was a terrible idea that didn't...
Why would they want to draw attention to it?
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I just thought, maybe they'd have a sense of humour about themselves. I thought they'd go, remember that time when we tried to gender Lego and it didn't work very well? But yeah, that.
Spider-Man do that nowadays. Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire dancing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's the thing, because it was like a meme and everyone loved it, and that's what you want to do. Have a great little meme.
Yeah, maybe it's too touchy for them to parody that.
Yeah.
Because it's with gender and sexism and all that. With Spider-Man, it's like, oh, look at this, it's Tobey Maguire dancing weird. Like, that doesn't have any connotations, apart from it's just really weird.
Yeah.
So there you go. Also, Michael, the one thing that I also did like as well was the ending.
Okay, so yeah, basically, as far as I'm concerned, this film had like 3 different sections. You haven't mentioned one of the things I was going to say. Well, you kind of have. I'll tell you what, I'm going to jump in and say, so you mentioned Cow Cuckoo Land. Mine was going to be just generally the different worlds. Cowboy and Indian's Land. Well, actually, there weren't that many worlds, to be honest. There was Cowboy and Indian Land, there was Cow Cuckoo Land. I thought they'd maybe go to, more lands, but whatever. I mean, they didn't, and that's fine. They can do what they want. I don't care.
They can, yeah.
But, regarding... So, yeah, that's all I want to say. The different worlds, obviously, it was a really neat thing. I guess maybe I could frame that as criticism because, I mean, it seems like a very obvious thing to do. You've got Lego, it's loads of different worlds. They could have gone to loads of different worlds. But, I don't know, maybe for some of it there was, like, marketing issues. Like, maybe Disney was like, you can have Han Solo, but you can't have them go to Star Wars Land. So we'll just accept that.
Star Wars Land. What would that be with all the planets?
Yeah, exactly.
Would that be just Tatooine?
Oh, yeah, great. Tatooine. Love Tatooine.
Or Coruscant, maybe.
Yeah, Coruscant? See, things there aren't that many Lego sets for Coruscant. As somebody who is an avid collector of Star Wars. In fact, I don't know of a single Lego set that's set on Coruscant. There are some Lego sets set on Naboo, which we love.
What about the Jedi Temple?
No, see, okay. I mean, one of the problems with Lego is that, like, there aren't that many... or you can't have massive sets. So I think one of the problems is, unless they've got, like, a very clear, like, small area that they can turn into a Lego set, they just don't even bother. So, they'll be like, for example, there's a Lego set for the Emperor's throne room on the Death Star. But that's, obviously they're not going to make a Death Star Lego set, except for that time when they did. But that cost like $1,000, so... anyway, so yeah, the ending. So yeah, basically, there's, in my opinion, like 3 bits of this film. It's the first bit, which is, because the funny thing is I've been talking about like 2 different halves. Really, it's kind of like thirds. So the first third is a bit, like I say, I was kind of just thinking, where's this going? Which is where it's just him, alone, having fun, going, hey, having fun with my construction job. Oh, what's that? Do. Second bit, I guess, is when they start exploring the worlds, doing all this stuff. And then the third bit is, of course, when we get introduced to the meta narrative for this whole world. And I assume that's what you're talking about. The real world. And why don't you can... I've stolen it from you enough now, so you can have it back. There you go. Here it is back for you.
Okay, so basically we learn at the end of the movie that all that was happening beforehand was in the child's imagination. You realise that everything that has been playing out, it's just a kid imagining, or creating a story in his mind, and imagining obviously his father is the bad guy who won't let him play with the Lego, and then he's the good, or he's controlling the good guys, and he wants to be able to defeat the evil Lord Business and move all the Lego around, and have fun, be creative, be imaginative. There is one problem though.
Yes.
So it's very clear that everything happening in the movie beforehand is the child's imagination.
But you hated it.
But no, it's fine.
Okay.
It's nice. I like it. It makes sense, I guess. But then, Emmett starts moving.
Yeah.
On his own, and I'm like, what the fuck? I just thought that was. I didn't expect that.
Okay, so
it's like it's Toy Story now.
Yeah, part of the problem I think is that you have to take it with a bit of a grain of salt because, one of the things, obviously, if you were to deconstruct every single thing that was happening as a child doing it, then I think there are several parts of the film that wouldn't really work.
But you can take those with a grain of salt.
Okay, yeah, this bit, yeah, okay, so it is.
Yeah,
I guess you've just got to say that they needed it to happen within the thing. I mean, obviously
they needed it to happen within the thing.
Yeah, they needed the film. Yeah, I mean, okay. So here's my thing. Have you ever heard? We like to speak about this, don't we? The metaphysical notion of the ghost within the machine, which is the inspiration for the film Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, we like to speak about that all the time.
So basically, complex philosophy aside, it's actually quite a useful concept when talking about films like this, which is what I assume it was originally intended for. It basically is like saying that, obviously, it comes back to free will. We won't talk about that, but basically the idea of our bodies in some ways being controlled and shaped by our environment around us. However, we as human beings have this instinctive idea that we have free will. And one of the attempts to reconcile this has basically been that our bodies are kind of or our physical selves are kind of just machines that do stuff, but then our brain is in our head and that actually does have free will, but everything it chooses to do happens to line up with the metaphysical forces that make us do things. So basically, within this, what I'm saying is that each character within this film actually has their own soul, but it just so happens that their soul lines up with what they're being forced to do by a little kid. But in this one case, his dedication to his friends is so strong that he is able to break the metaphysical preconditions of his world in order to save them. And that just shows how true his friendship is. And for you to attack that true friendship, Luke, is disgraceful.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. But I tell you what, I did like the touching moment at the end.
Yeah, I did.
When the father learns what his kid has done, and it's like, he's so amazed by it. It's like, Finn, did you build all this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a great moment. It's such a raw emotional moment. It's fantastic.
It's a good like interplay between the actual Lego world, because obviously a lot of the stuff in the Lego world would be a bit confusing if you were trying to directly parallel it to what's happening in real life.
Yes.
But obviously, for example, there was presumably not a moment in real life when what's his face, Will Ferrell, or the kid caused loads and loads of squiddy monsters to come down with glue attachments. I doubt that happened. But however,
he created, by the way, that kid, a very complex narrative as well.
Yeah.
Like, fair play.
He should be a screenwriter.
Like, he should be a screenwriter. Like, Emmett's journey from, like, oh, yeah, you're nobody. Oh, no, you're special. I am special. Oh, wait, I'm not special. Oh, no, wait, we're all special.
Yeah. Although maybe that would also explain away my criticism that the initial societal satire was a bit lacking. Maybe it was because of the kid. Anyway.
What do you think of the message, by the way, Michael? That everyone's special. That everyone can do something if they want to.
I think that it is a neat little message for everyone. I mean, again, obviously, in some ways, I guess you could say like it's just a generic message.
It's incredibly generic, isn't it?
And I guess it's not even satirical at that point. So
no, it's not.
So fuck them. Clearly, don't even know
that's the thing. Like, it's parts of the movie.
Yeah,
satirical,
and then it suddenly gets all sincere.
And then it gets sincere, and that the message, I guess it's executed well. Emmett goes on a good journey, but it's kind of it is kind of having a cake and eating it as well. When you've satired a lot of conventional modern blockbuster like scripts, and then at the end you just pull one of the tropes right out of the bag.
Yeah.
That is in those modern blockbusters that you have satired previously in your movie.
But I actually wanted to say one thing that I did really like about this film, I guess, which is that the bad guy just straight up decides to become good, which I think is quite rare. Like, obviously, you might say, oh, it's a kid's film, so of course, the bad guys. But a lot of the time, you have kind of like what you could have easily imagined happening is like, I mean, it wouldn't have made any sense at all within the context of the meta-narrative. That, like, what happens in a lot of films is the bad guy, the good guy makes an earnest attempt to appeal to the bad guy's humanity, and the bad guy then acts as if he's about to maybe change his ways, and then reveals that he isn't going to change his ways, thus vindicating the point where the good guy later on defeats the bad guy by killing him. Which, let's be honest, a lot of the time in kids' films, the bad guy just gets straight up killed.
Well, someone gets beheaded in this movie.
Somebody gets crushed by some kind of wall. I can't remember when, but there was a wall and it fell on someone. I was like, oh, not getting up after that, are they? Anyway, so, but obviously he does, I mean, again, it obviously kind of has to be this way within the narrative, otherwise, Will Ferrell would just be a massive dick. I love that the dad is just like, no, I want to be evil.
Did you make all of this? It's all shit. Just throws in the bin.
Yeah, but, it was good, and I kind of thought this film, in a lot of ways, got better and better, apart from like slight like plot weirdness aside, like obviously why did he move and things like that, which is obviously a bit confusing, but you can kind of be like, okay, well, it's weird movie plot rules, whatever. But in terms of like the impact of the plot, and I guess like the originality of the plot and the emotional weight of the plot, I'd say it got better and better for me, which is kind of good.
Fair enough. Anyway, now we've just basically discussed the plot and the satire, the the deconstruction, the ending, and all of that, the meta narrative going on. I think it's time to read Dylan's thoughts.
Yes, I want to know.
What do you think? So I asked him, "Hey Dylan, me and Michael will be selecting and reflecting on the Lego Movie later. I thought it'd be interesting to get your opinion as to why you said you hated it, because I remember he said he hated it. So he says it's far too formulaic. The plot had been done to death, very predictable, and I didn't find any of the jokes funny. I was really shocked afterwards that it got the positive reaction it did." So
Okay,
what do you think
well,
of that first off?
I think it's, if we break it down backwards, one of the remarks there was the humour, which we're going to talk about that later, Luke. So we'll ignore
Yeah,
that. We'll
talk
put
about that
aside.
later. Yeah.
The other one, okay. So I'm going to leave that first one just till the end. Regarding it being predictable, to be honest, I mean, did you think when you from that first scene, could you tell that Will Ferrell was going to show up and say, "Did you build this?" Because I personally could see that coming from a mile away. Will Ferrell just being like, "Yo, I'm a dad." Yeah, I mean,
I think he means with like Emmett's journey.
yeah, but I mean, like, here's the thing. I mean, I don't. So yeah, obviously, we'll get to the first bit in a bit. But regarding like the actual plot narrative, things that happen, I don't think you can really say it's predictable, apart from just saying like generic things like the bad guys lose and the good guys win. But like I say, for example, the fact that the bad guy just decides to become a good guy for all the narrative reasons is very unpredictable. So yeah, clearly it's not predictable. Now we get to the final. The first thing he said, which was of course that the plot was very formulaic. Now,
Had been done to death.
now there's a slight problem with that criticism, isn't there, Luke? What would you what would you say that the problem with that criticism is?
I don't know, Michael. I want you to say, because if you're thinking what I'm thinking.
So I think once we finish saying this, I'm going to have to tell you about that time when Dylan was talking about South Park. But okay, so obviously the fact that the plot is formulaic is satirical. Now,
Yes.
like I said, Luke, I found if anything, I found the satire. My criticism of the satire would be that I sort of found it a bit too obvious. In that,
Too on the nose.
yeah, and I mean, yeah, what is there to say, really, Luke? I mean, did you actually bring up to him the fact?
No.
Okay, so he's,
I don't think he realised that large parts of the movie were meant to be satirical. Yeah, so...
yeah, I mean, I wonder... okay, I'm going to have to bring up for a frame of...
It wasn't on the nose enough, Michael. It completely
Yes.
destroys your criticism.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it should have been more on the nose. I mean, to be honest, so here's the thing, all right? You have to realize there were people who thought Borat was anti-Semitic. So basically, no matter how on the nose a film is, there's going to be some people like Dylan out there who just don't get it. But I have to tell you a time about when Dylan was talking about South Park. Okay, so basically, there's an episode of South Park called Chef Goes Nanas. Chef is a black character in South Park.
Yeah, I know something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He, the town's flag, or the county flag, is basically several white stick figures, like whatever, 6 or whatever, lynching a black man. And Chef says, that's terrible. That's, obviously racist, and he fights to get rid of it. And at the end, basically the solution is don't see color, don't see race. And they end up making a new flag, which is a multicultural group of people lynching a black man. And they say, well, we've done it this way because we're not seeing race. We're just seeing a bunch of people lynching another person. And Dylan was like, I thought that was a really good message because it was saying, you shouldn't see race and blah, blah, blah. And I was saying, Dylan, I think the message was supposed to be that a very simplistic understanding of racial ideas where you just don't see race is somewhat absurd when you're talking about a group of people literally lynching another group of people. And it was like, nah, I just thought it was...
I think I remember that. I haven't seen that episode.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. It's also got a bit where... actually, no. I was going to say something, but I realised it wasn't actually that funny, and it didn't justify me bringing it up. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, one of my criticisms of South Park, again, is a lot of the time I find the satire to be a bit on the nose. One of the most egregious examples is the one where there's the election between a giant douche and a turd sandwich, and it's very obvious what the point of the episode is, and yet there's a bit where I forget if it's Stan or Kyle, but one of them goes to somewhere and he's like, oh, we've got a school, they're trying to choose a school mascot, and like, oh, you've got to choose a school mascot, and the only two options are a turd sandwich and a giant douche. And the person is like, every election's between a turd sandwich and a giant douche. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. I get it. You don't have to explain it. But yeah, apparently, yeah. So I think a lot of South Park satire is a bit on the nose. Like, yeah, obviously I get that that's the point, that every election is between a turd sandwich and a giant douche. But yeah, so basically that just further reinforces my point that no matter how on the nose satire seems to be, there's always going to be people who don't get it. And therefore, we should just die as a species.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk.
No, yeah, so basically, that he also said, I also really hate how when people criticize the Emoji Movie, they compare the characters to the superior Lego Movie characters. Emoji Movie is worse than the Lego Movie, but I don't think either of them are very good films.
Yeah. I mean, he's not wrong that the Emoji Movie is better than the Lego Movie. So, yeah. But the real question is, did he think that it was better than Daddy's Home?
Well, just one more comment on the Emoji Movie. The Emoji Movie didn't rip off the Lego Movie. They both ripped off every other movie.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, again, he didn't understand the message and the satire or whatever. So, anyway, so I asked him, was it better than Daddy's Home? This is important. And he replied, Lego Movie is nowhere near Daddy's Home. Daddy's Home's in the Premier League and Lego Movie is in the Conference South.
That makes sense, yeah.
So, there you go. He's steadfast in his opinions.
Yep. Let's be honest, that doesn't really surprise me, seeing as he, liked Daddy's Home.
Yeah, I would like to watch this movie with him again, just to point out the satire.
Yeah.
And see if it, clicks for him. It's like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah, you should get him to watch the film on his own again and see, I don't know, maybe it won't make a difference. But, yeah, okay. So, I feel like there was almost something else I was going to... Oh, yeah. No, okay, I was just going to talk about the Emoji Movie, but I'm going to talk about it later. So let's talk about...
We'll talk about the Emoji Movie when the Emoji Movie 2 comes out.
Yes. We'll talk about characters.
Yes, characters.
So... Which one?
We've already kind of talked about Emmett.
Yeah, so Emmett, there's nothing really. Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah. I was just thinking, checking if I had got any specific notes, but no, yeah, nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah,
actually, I did want to say one thing. Again, this is another example of me liking them using the various aspects of Lego characters. So I like the fact that he has the generic Lego character face, which is just 2 dots and a smile, while a lot of the other characters have unique Lego character faces. Because obviously it kind of adds to the idea of him just being an average person. That's all I want to say.
Okay. So Will Ferrell is Lord Business.
Yeah, and also the dad.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a specific thing about him being called Lord Business, which we'll get into later. But apart from that, I guess one of the things about Lord Business is he's kind of a really evil person. And then he just suddenly becomes not evil because he's revealed to be a dad, which I only just thought about then. Because within the narrative that the Lego Movie has actually established, within the narrative that the in-world plot, the in-Lego world plot had actually established, I feel like Lord Business was pretty irredeemable, but by connecting him to the outer world Will Ferrell dad, who I would like to imagine, by the way, is actually the same dad as the one from Daddy's Home. Personally, I believe in the Daddy's Home Lego Movie cinematic universe.
Well, whose kid is that then?
Well, to be honest, I can't remember what any of the kids look like from Daddy's Home.
Well, the kid has curly hair in this movie. The kid in Daddy's Home does not have curly hair.
Well, I can't remember that because I'm not a massive Daddy's Home fan.
I guess not.
I don't know. I mean, maybe okay, so you know how James Bond just changes look willy-nilly? Same thing, that kid, Will Ferrell's kid from Daddy's Home is the James Bond of this cinematic universe.
Yeah, but he seems to love his kid, and the point of Daddy's Home is the kid doesn't love him.
Yeah, well now this is later on. This is many years in the future. Decades in the future.
Wait, so it's a prequel to a movie that hadn't come out yet?
Yes.
Oh, no, sorry, it's a sequel to a movie that hadn't come out yet, not a prequel. It's a sequel
to a movie that hasn't come out yet. Which makes Daddy's Home is a prequel of the Lego Movie.
Yes, it's like a Tokyo Drift.
Yes, exactly.
How that was a pre-sequel to Fast and Furious 4.
Yes, exactly.
It came out before, but was set after. Okay,
yes.
Now it all makes sense.
And then, I think that's basically all I'm saying is that Lord Business, his fundamental character motivation changed based on the fact that he was revealed to be a dad within an outer world thing, and if he wasn't revealed to be a dad within an outer world thing, then his decision wouldn't make sense. But I guess seeing as he just existed within the mind of the child and was a personification of his dad, that's not really a criticism. It's just an observation. So don't shoot me.
two more characters I want to talk about. We've got Will Arnett
Will I
as
Am?
Bruce Wayne Batman. Yeah, Will I Am. Yeah, Will Arnett. You know, Will Arnett is in Arrested Development. Mike.
No. I'm gonna look up what his face looks like, just because I recognise his name. Oh, yeah, I know that guy. I don't know what he's from, apart from I watched a video about Arrested Development. I think I mentioned it to you recently. It was about like how Arrested Development wasn't as good when it returned.
No, it was not as good as it returned.
Yeah, and
That is quite an understatement.
yes, and when I was watching that video, I saw his face a lot.
All right. Yeah. So that's he's called Joe, by the way, his character.
Got you.
Joe. Yeah. And that's his initials, but G-O-B, but people just call him Joe. Anyway, yeah. So obviously they satirise Batman as well. In this
I'm
movie.
Batman. No, hardest. Just let me
I'm
confirm
Batman.
it.
I'm so dark.
Yeah, Batman was like. So was Will Arnett playing Batman? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Batman was like funny, and I guess the one weird thing about Batman is that a lot of his character wasn't really a satire of Batman. Like the fact that he, was very self-serving and didn't care about his girlfriend is not something typically associated with Batman. But it was still entertaining. It just wasn't like it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't really. I mean, like some aspects of him were a satire, but
Yeah, somewhat.
a
Somewhat.
lot of it was just like he was a funny character, which is fine, but just
It was
just an observation, Luke.
just not. But yeah, I like how he only wanted like dark bricks to build his Batmobile.
Yeah.
Like that's satirizing Batman. But yeah, the part about him being selfish or whatever, that's not really satirizing him.
Yeah.
So we got Elizabeth Banks as Lucy / Wild
Lucy
Style.
Liu. You mean jailbait?
Yeah, jailbait.
No, not
yeah.
jailbait.
That's tough.
Jailbreak. Is that
Oh god.
name jailbreak?
I don't know. I just repeated what I thought you said.
from the Emoji Movie? Right.
Yeah.
Wait. I want to check that I'm right about this. Yeah. Okay. She is called Jailbreak.
All right. Yeah, a tough as nails and tech-savvy fighter who is one of the master builders. So her relationship with Emmett is quite generic, actually, and it is quite formulaic. So Dylan will have a point with this one because they weren't really satirizing the
Yeah.
relationship between like the two main characters who fall in love. There wasn't any satirizing going on. So yeah.
Yeah. That was. Yeah. I mean, they don't get any props for the romance. It was just fine, but not
No, they do not.
not great.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
I found wild style porn. No.
Oh my god.
No, it wasn't actually. It was just a.
Oh, what a
Well,
shame.
it's a picture of Jailbreak and Wild Style hugging, not having sex.
Oh, right, okay. Wow.
I bet it
Yeah, you
exists.
could probably find it, yeah. It exists. No doubt it exists. No doubt it
Well,
exists.
if it exists, there's porn of it. That's what Rule 34 is.
Yeah, that's Rule 34. Go on Rule 34. You'll see it.
The the Lego Movie porn videos.
Oh, yeah. I guess they can make Lego Movie porn videos, can't they? Just stop motion animation porn. It's incredibly hot.
This is There's actually not that
yeah,
much.
anyway.
There's Lego Robloxians, lesbians scissoring each other on Roblox. Do you remember Roblox?
Wow, this podcast has really taken a left turn.
Yes. Okay.
hasn't
So
it?
yeah, next thing.
This is what
I guess
happens
actually
when we
one
talk
thing
about
was-
a female character.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
He's sexist.
Well, it was mostly because of. I'll tell you what. I'll look up. What's his name? Ennett. Ennett Lego.
Just to be fair, to be
Yes,
balanced.
this is typical liberal feminist. Oh wait. Oh my. Okay, so basically, I've realized what it is. Okay, it's like cuck porn, and it's Emmett watching Wild Style bang Batman. I mean, that's what I'm picking up. This is actually a safe for work clip, but I'm imagining that's where it's heading. Anyway, but Wild Style. I sent you something, by the way, Luke. Wild Style.
Yeah, I'm going to click on this now.
I
Go on,
want
tell
to
me
talk
about
about how she was called Lucy because she was too insecure to tell people her real name because she wanted to have a cool name. Basically, just thought that was worth mentioning, and it didn't really. I guess it's kind of like it was neat because it established like a similarity between the characters because obviously in Emmett's case he doesn't like the fact that he's just a random nobody, that he's just a generic person. And in Wildstyle's case, she didn't like that, and then she changed her name to be Wildstyle because she thought it made her sound cool because she didn't want to just be a nobody. And then eventually,
And now she was insecure as well.
insecure.
There was that there was a bit of the wink wink,
Yeah.
like how these female characters, they're often
Yeah.
got like a cool name. And they
Uh,
do a wink wink there as well.
and then obviously at the end, I guess she kind of learns that she didn't need to be the special. I mean, obviously, she learns that everyone's special. So she learned that she wanted to be the special. That was her driver. It's a classic raised parents were nobody, isn't it? She's built her identity around this idea that she will be the chosen one. But then she finds out that actually, wild style, she finds out that her parents just abandoned her, and they were drunks and gamblers. They just abandoned her on that planet, and she says, "No, I hate that." That's what Wild Style said. Next character.
Okay. I don't have any more characters to really
Okay,
talk
I
about.
wanted to talk about Benny. Just wanted to say he was really well played by Charlie Day. I
yes.
thought Charlie Day was a good line. I also wrote down the thing that I mentioned before, which is just that I thought it was a bit weird that Benny was really over the top and happy when he'd already established Emmett as being really over the top and happy. But I guess at this point Emmett wasn't as over the top and happy, so they needed to have another really over the top and happy character. Also, I guess the other thing about Benny is the idea of like that 1980s space guy is like a bit of a meme. Like, for example, my grandparents have Lego, and I think it's from like the 60s, like this really OG Lego, and they have it in like it's bringing back childhood memories. They have it in like these cardboard boxes, and they've got all the different things, all these different, all properly organized, and you take it out when we were there, when we were kids, take it out, build stuff, and they had one of those, spaceship dudes. In fact, they had like 3 of them, and they were all different colors. And they're a thing, and I thought, hey, it's one of those spaceship dudes. I remember that from the 80s, but eventually people won't remember it from the 80s or 80s or 70s. I don't know when it came out. Obviously, I wasn't alive in the 80s, but my grandparents were.
This is a very interesting rant you're going on.
And that's why I liked it.
Yeah. Okay, just a couple of quick things. You know who played Superman and Green Lantern?
Oh yeah, Green Lantern was kind of funny too, because everyone hates Green Lantern.
Yeah.
So...
Well, you're not going to guess, I'll just tell you. Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill.
Oh, they should have had
Can you guess
Ryan
which
Gosling.
one was which?
Okay, I'm going to guess that... So, I mean, okay, here, my first thought is, obviously, Jonah Hill is more of a bumbling idiot, so it makes sense he played Green Lantern. However, I think that they subverted your expectations, Ryan Johnson style, and actually Channing Tatum played Green Lantern, and Jonah Hill played... Who was the other one? Superman?
Yeah.
Jonah Hill played Superman.
You're wrong. They didn't do a Ryan Johnson.
Oh,
Channing Tatum was Superman, Jonah Hill was Green Lantern. That would have been funny.
Yeah.
That would have been funny, but they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Colby Smulders played Wonder Woman, so she's been in the DC Cinematic Universe
yeah, that's good.
and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I guess not the DC Cinematic Universe. She's played a DC character then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's been in both. So that is that then. What are we talking about next after characters?
I think we're talking about humour. Okay,
Humour.
so...
Well, a lot of the humour comes from the satire.
I want to ask you a question, Luke. Did you think this film was funny?
The thing is, it wasn't funny, but I don't think it wasn't trying really to be. It was kind of like half trying to be funny. Like, it was just the funny. I felt that the jokes, like, they came naturally instead of being forced.
Yeah.
Like,
so what you're saying is
like-
that the jokes didn't feel like they were trying to make you laugh. So therefore, it's a classic. That's the thing. I've always said that. I've said that about the problem with late Simpsons. The problem with late Simpsons, obviously the jokes aren't as funny, but the bigger problem with that is that the jokes are more obvious, and therefore you notice when you're not laughing. That's always been my problem with late Simpsons, Luke, and you know it.
Yeah, there's no there's subtlety to this movie. And obviously, that comes from the satire as well. But yeah, there's just in a lot of places, it's just like, that's kind of funny, and it's like, there's never like out and out jokes like, okay, we're gonna write a joke right here and it's gonna be funny, and there's never like this moment where you feel like you're trying to make you laugh. And yeah, that's a good point about old Simpsons and new Simpsons.
Okay, well, yeah, basically, Luke, I was wondering if you would find this funny because, of course, as we know, it's a recurring theme, or it's been a while since we've looked at like a proper comedy, but it's a recurring thing that you tend not to find films as funny as me. And I was wondering if this time maybe you would find it funny, because I didn't find this film very funny. However, I actually did, probably even still, even though I'm slightly more down on this film than you, not massively more down, but slightly more down on this film than you, I still found some of it funny. And the one bit that I noticed in particular, which was, again, not clever at all, but you know what I laugh at? The bit where Jail Style, Wild Break, says, "Today will no longer be known as Taco Tuesday, but Freedom Friday, but still on a Tuesday." Made me laugh, because...
That was good, yeah.
But the other... so, I do have,
Yeah, see, if they were trying too hard, then they would have made her go, but still on a Tuesday.
yeah, and
Like,
yes,
made it, like, cringy.
Yes. Having said that, I think one of the things that is that at the beginning, I did notice just a few moments where I can't think what it was, but there was like, because the first time I watched this film, I watched it with somebody else, and I often find that watching films with somebody else makes you notice like dead, like things that miss a lot more. And the funny thing is, there weren't any of those. Like, there were moments later on where obviously, like I say, and this is what you want, where the joke doesn't necessarily hit, but you don't notice it miss. There was, I can't think. I'm really not. I think it was a bit. So basically, they sing the "Everything Is Awesome" song, and we'll talk about the music in a bit. But I think there's like a bit in the middle where there's kind of like a verbal interlude, and there was a joke in that. I can't remember what the joke was, but it was like, they were saying "Everything Is Awesome," blah blah blah, and then there's a stop, there's a line, and then they start singing again. And that line, I remember like thinking, oh, that's trying to be funny and not laughing. And it only happened once, so I'm not saying it's a big criticism, but I did notice it once, so maybe that was kind of one. It's just another example of how terrible the first half of this film was, Luke. But anyway, yeah. Okay. But apart from that, no, I generally agree with you. I didn't find this film to be hilarious. There were a few. I found it probably slightly funnier than you, because I always find things funnier than you. But the bits I didn't find funny.
Oh, I was just going to say, you're right, though. I did get kind of a Simpsons vibe. I can't remember when it was, but I did think...
Is it because they're yellow?
Yeah, that's why. It's because they're yellow. It was like, at some point in the film, I was like, you know what, that reminds me of a joke I'd see on The Simpsons. And I can't remember where it was, but I was like, yeah, this is kind of Simpsons-esque comedy. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You thought that. Anyway, shall we get onto the song?
Yeah, let me just triple check that I didn't have anything else to say about... Oh yeah, the only other thing I had to say about the humour is that I wasn't as down with the satire as you were, but that's fine. So we've already spoken about that. So, okay, the music. I have to say this, Luke. Obviously,
everything is awesome.
The music is supposed to be ironic, but I still hated it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I remember the "Everything Is Awesome" song, and I couldn't really get down with it. Even, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I'd rather they played "Friday" by Rebecca Black. I think that's a much better song.
I got to say a couple of things.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah.
So Eric Brown, writing in the International Business Times, describes the song as a parody of fascism, saying that the song seems little more than an infectiously catchy parody of watered-down radio pop, right down to the Fox dubstep breakdown. There's a lot more happening under the surface, however.
That's beautiful.
So, do you agree with that?
It's
a parody of fascism?
I'm not sure if I would truly consider this film to be a parody of fascism.
Yeah, neither would I. I don't know. In an interview with Fox News, producer Mark Mothersbaugh, what a name, says the song... Oh, you've shared another photo, right? Was supposed to be like mind control early in the film. It's totally irritating. It's kind of mindless mantra to get up and work. It's like the whip crack on the back. But then by the end of the movie, it morphs into, instead of being just a mindless go-to-work song, it becomes about cooperation and people working together to do bigger things.
Yeah.
What does that sound like?
Well, if you want to work fast, work alone.
Like, what the fuck have you just sent me?
What, you mean Joe Wild style being intimate with two construction workers?
Oh my
anyway,
God.
So there's an old quote, Luke. An old quote. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Okay. Yeah,
and,
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, so...
Well, that's the thing. Like, one person is saying it's a parody of fascism, and the producer's like saying it's actually like a communist.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not communist, but it becomes about cooperation, people doing things. Yeah, collectivism. Yes. And obviously we'll get onto communism later on. But yeah, it's interesting. You got kind of the opposite there.
Yeah.
I guess fascism is kind of.
I did like the bit where I keep thinking, I want to say Jailbreak. Wild Style is interrogating Emmett about like all the different things about him, where she discovers he is like totally average, and she asks him what his favorite song is, and he's like, everything is awesome. And but it reminded me of an old College Humor sketch where Jeff Rubin, who is a very nerdy character in the College Humor crew, becomes a really cool guy called Joff Rubin, and then he goes into the machine that turned him into a cool guy again. and this time it malfunctions, so he becomes a completely average person, somewhere between a nerd and a cool guy, called like Jaff Rabin or something. Can't remember. But everything he says is like really average. He's like, "Hey buddy, back off. I know Taekwondo. I'm a yellow belt." And he's like, "Hey guys, do you want to play Xbox? I hope you brought your own controllers because I've only got the one pair." And I'm like, "Oh, what a horribly average thing to say." And at the end, they shoot him. And as he's dying, he goes, "Do you think I'll go to heaven? I considered myself to be spiritual, but I was never really involved in any organized religion." And I thought that was funny because, of course, that's a very average, basic. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you know, the new term "basic bitch." That's like a new thing that kids are saying nowadays. You know, they've recently started.
Well, they said it like 2 years ago.
Started saying this term "basic bitch." That's basically what Emmett is. And I think somebody in the film should have called him. Oh, a basic bro. He is.
Yeah, basic bro. Okay, so Michael.
With that Disney Channel flow.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. Okay, so animation now.
Yes. The animation was really, really, really good.
It was amazing.
It was
incredible. Just like Coco was when we did when we did that.
When we did Cocaine.
Yes. The thing is, imagine that, Coco on cocaine. Wow, what an experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so this movie did not get nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars.
So this is...
Which many critics considered a major snub, just to have that context.
Yes, so basically, I remember one of the people, because obviously I was saying how I watched some reviewers, and the reviewers said that they really liked the Lego Movie, and one of them was saying, like, you know, it was kind of weird that it wasn't nominated for Best Animated Picture, and they posited that a lot of the time, the Academy, apparently, doesn't even watch, like, every single film. I mean, sorry, it should be said, obviously they don't watch every single film that exists, but he basically suggested that that they just decided not to watch this film because they assumed, as I think, you know, many people could be forgiven for assuming that that it would just be a corporate cash cow for Lego, and you know they prejudge it, they judge it by its cover, and therefore perhaps they didn't even watch it. Otherwise, I mean, the thing is, like, especially seeing as you're nominated for Best Animation, the animation was really good. I mean, even if, let's suppose you thought the story was formulaic and you didn't realize it was satire, still, the novelty of the animation should have at least earned it a nomination. Like, even if it was just the most... unless the film was really terrible, as far as I'm concerned, on the animation alone, it should have got a nomination. Having said that, I don't know what else was nominated. Maybe I'll look that up while you say something interesting.
Yeah, and some weird movies.
But this be 2015 Oscars, because we were released in 2014 or 2013.
Yeah, that would be correct, yeah. For the 2015 Oscars, yeah. By the way, Oscar host Neil Patrick Harris referenced the Lego Movie not being nominated for Best Animated Feature, saying prior to the awards presentation, "If you're at the Oscar party with the guys who directed the Lego Movie, now would be a great time to distract them." So clearly, even in the Oscar presentation, when they were handing out the award, the Lego Movie was being referenced. So you can see, you know, I don't know how many times it's happened before, but it does seem like a pretty major snub.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't imagine there were 5 animated films better than this.
Yeah,
because this is one of the best animated films I've seen.
There was a classic, what's it called? Japanese anime film.
Yeah, there was a Japanese
film. There was one called Song of the Sea, not to be confused with...
close.
Yeah, Song of the South. A lot of these have really good views, but I think really good reviews, but I think it's just because hardly anyone's reviewed them. How to Train Your Dragon 2, that's not badly reviewed, and Big Hero 6, which actually won, and then the other one, I think the one that probably should have lost is one called The Box Trolls, which still wasn't terribly reviewed, but it got 76%. Lego Movie, I actually don't know what the Lego Movie was reviewed.
It's like 95 or something.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think.
Alright.
Yeah. Alright.
Anyway.
Okay. So, communism.
Yes. Actually, I did want to say one more thing about the animation. Well, 2 more things about the animation, actually.
Come on, let's go into the communism.
Sorry, I wanted to say, number 1, the animation makes it really fun to watch people do things because, like, of the limitations of the animation style. Like, when he's doing the jumping jacks, I was like, oh, that's fun. It's fun to watch him do jumping jacks. And then...
It's incredibly original.
Number 2, I like the fact that, like, everything was made of Lego. Like, even the explosions, and the gunfire. Like, every single thing that was animated was made of Lego. And I actually watched a video essay about, well, I say video essay. The video essay term is overused, but it was a video with an essay-like quality, and it was talking about how it was basically referencing, and that's kind of why I referenced it at the beginning of this review, the history of YouTube stop motion Lego films that were once made, and they're, to be honest, Luke, they still hold up. You watch that, like, okay, there was this one, and it was like a Lego stop motion of some guys attacking a castle, and there was this thing which I found hilarious at the time. That was because I was like, 10 years old, and it was literally the stupidest thing. It was basically there was a king and some kind of knight or something who have been established in this arching, grand, sprawling narrative established in this 6-minute film on YouTube, where the king says, "You scratch my back and I'll scratch yours," and then he turns his back to the person to indicate that he literally wants his back to be scratched. Hilarious. And that was when I started laughing at just anything. That was what started it. But yeah, and someone said, like, yeah, obviously in those old stop motion Lego things, obviously they didn't use stop motion. Don't know if you could tell that, Luke. Didn't actually use stop motion. Instead they used a sleazy computer. Disgusting. Wow. Make an effort. Should have done.
Disgusting.
If this was, to be fair, imagine if this whole film was stop motion Lego. That would be, it wouldn't look as good, but it would be impressive.
Okay, Michael, on to communism.
Yes.
So, basically, this movie, it can be argued, does promote a communist message. This idea of you got to follow instructions, work together for the greater good, and sacrifice your personal goals to stop world business. It sounds pretty communist to me. It's quite ironic considering it's just a giant commercial for Lego.
So here's the thing, okay, Luke. Part of the problem that seems, because I remember this whole controversy coming out mostly because the guy was called Lord Business. Like there was this, I don't know if it was this, but there was a guy who came out on Fox News and it was like, Lord Business is supposed to be the bad guy, but meanwhile, real businessmen are creating jobs for millions of Americans, and we're teaching kids to demonize businessmen. But here's the thing, okay? It comes, at least in part, it comes back down to the satire thing again. Because I say, obviously you've got the Lorax, which is kind of stupid, and one of the things with the Lorax is that your bad guy is a very over-the-top businessman who's only concerned about money, things like that, and that's kind of a trope. And the fact that he's called Lord Business, again, to me, it felt kind of more like something that was being, satired. The fact that it's not as if this Lego movie started the concept of businessmen and CEOs being demonized. Lex Luthor. Businessmen and CEOs have always been demonized because... Yeah,
but it was because it was so on the nose.
Yeah,
it was
but the funny thing is that the whole reason it's on the nose is almost because it was like playing into that idea of like taking everything up to 11. So,
yeah.
And as for...
Well, I guess some people just don't get the satire. Yeah. By the way, US Senator Ron Johnson, who is the senator from Wisconsin, criticized the film's anti-corporate message, saying that it taught children that government is good and business is bad. Citing the villain's name of Lord Business. This might have been... Actually, well, he didn't tell Fox News, he told WizPolitics.com, which is the politics site in Wisconsin.
That makes sense.
I'd assume, yeah. That's done for a reason, Johnson told WizPolitics.com. They're starting that propaganda, and it's insidious.
Yeah. Here's the thing, okay?
What do you think, Michael?
It isn't really, because once you get rid of the Lord Business stuff, which as you've established isn't really supposed to be taken that seriously, I don't think, then you basically just have the fact that maybe, but the thing is, like, one of the main things of the film is that it's teaching you to be creative and innovative, because the master builders are people
exactly.
And like the thing is, there's one bit where it's like, oh, the last thing they'd be expecting is for us to read the instructions, but that's just a clever twist. And I don't really see how this film can have anything to do with government, seeing as there doesn't seem to be a government in this. In fact, if anything,
yeah, I know.
The Lord Business is the government. So this film, if anything, is like corporate fascist. And I know that I know in America, seeing as they are corporate fascists, they struggle to distinguish between free market capitalism and corporate fascism. But it is possible to oppose one and not the other.
Wow,
if you're
hot take.
Yeah. So there we go. I think we've established that they're wrong.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, obviously, the communist messaging. If you want to read into it, you can say, "Oh, it's a communist film." But yeah, the fact is, how does everybody in the city try to stop Lord Business? They're told to be creative, and they're told to make something, just anything, and all become like master builders. Which you could argue, hey, it's collectivism, but the creativity, the imagination, the ingenuity.
Yeah,
that seems very capitalist to me.
Yes, exactly. So And also, like you say, this was actually made by a company who wanted to make money.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's pretty ironic.
yes,
I don't know, but hey, Lego are based in Denmark, Michael. You know, Denmark
Yeah.
are socialists,
Yeah,
which
true.
is just, next door to communists.
Yeah.
So, maybe. Yeah, okay. We're done, I think. I think it's time to wrap up on the Lego movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
just
you-
one important thing. In America, they call them Legos.
Yeah, no, I don't know why.
So it's almost 22:22.
That's great.
All right, so you ready to wrap up?
Yeah, I'm ready to wrap up. So,
yeah.
I was planning on going
That's
first,
fine.
unless
You can go
like to
first because I've got a lot of
Okay.
original thoughts. So you won't
Oh.
you won't steal them. I like them.
Okay, fair enough. So, yes, the Lego movie. I enjoyed the fact that this movie focused on satire a lot, especially the deconstruction of the protagonist Emmett. I thought that was original, and yes, the deconstruction of modern life. It wasn't original. I still enjoyed it. And yes, sometimes this movie does like to have its cake and eat it with the satire. So the prophecy thing, it's kind of satirizing that. But then, the prophecy is actually true. And then there's some generic parts of the plot, like Emmett's relationship with Wildside, which is, just a typical
Wild
relationship.
style.
You see in
You
these
said
kind of,
wild side.
oh, sorry, Wild Style. It's a stupid fucking name anyway. So yeah,
Lucy.
there's that. Yeah, Lucy. His relationship with Lucy. It's generic. So yeah, they could have satirized that, but they didn't. And yeah, there's some deeper meanings as well in this film, like I pointed out before, the Cloud Cuckoo Land. So yeah, they really put some thought into this. Like, it's completely different to the Emoji Movie, even though some people would not like to think so. And yeah, I really enjoyed the ending as well. I wish Emmett hadn't have moved, because it would just make sense more. But I guess whatever, it doesn't really matter that much. And yeah, the ending is very touching, it's very emotional. And yeah, it's just, I guess, a lot better than, many people would have expected. And certainly, I can't believe it was snubbed by an Oscar, by the Oscars. The animation was incredible. It was a good story. And yeah, I don't know, maybe they bought the communist messaging line, maybe, actually no, they're all communists down there, aren't they, in Hollywood?
Yeah.
What movie? That's what we learned. That was a Coen Brothers movie, wasn't it?
Yeah. Hail Caesar.
Hail Caesar, that was it, yeah. So they're all communists down there, so yeah. Just adds to the mystery of why it wasn't nominated for an Oscar. So yeah, I thought this was a very good movie, and although it's a commercial, I'm going to toss that to the side, and I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, my cat's meowing. That's fun. So this film, first of all, is a lot better than a lot of other films that are like, what if X was real? And as we've established, that is a classic. Can you hear that?
I just heard it just then. It's very faint, don't worry, continue.
That is a classic motif of modern children's animation, which is, what if we took X and we made it real? Bugs, toys, emojis, superheroes. And in this case, we of course have Lego. What if Lego was real? And given that, I think the one thing you have to give this film credit for is the fact that it took some concepts that are related to Lego, like being inventive, like things being about being creative rather than order, all of that stuff. And it made an exciting narrative out of it. With that said, they also had a generally pretty... Oh, it had an emotional heart with the whole kid and the father, and it had a pretty good basic plot with the whole end of the world, things being destroyed, can't go wrong with that. And then on top of all of that, you had the satire with Emmett being, the most special super person ever, which was good. On top of that, I thought the satire of the society itself was a bit unnecessary and a bit kind of on its own. It was a bit like just filling without the bread, the satire at the beginning, and once that nice chunky hearty sandwich loaf of a plot got into place, everything fit together a lot better. With all of that said, I think I'm quite comfortable putting this. First of all,
You're always quite comfortable, aren't you?
Well, sometimes I'm a bit in doubt, but and sometimes I'm very comfortable. But I'm thinking of I don't think this was as good as Coco. But I don't.
I thought it was better.
Okay, yeah, see, yeah. I don't think it was quite as good just because I like Coco's animation and things like that. And Coco had the same heart. I mean, there's a lot of things I get, but I don't think it's that much worse. I'm actually See, I think I'm going to put it 2 below Coco, and the other one it's falling below is Deadpool, and Deadpool was also very satirical. I think that all things considered, one of the problems of this film is I don't see it being very rewatchable. To be honest, I think like once you've got the idea of it, actually like a lot of the stuff that happens isn't that riveting. It's like a clever idea, but it's not that riveting. And for that reason, I'm going to kind of put it down a bit. I don't think I can, because there's lots of other films which I would rather watch again than this film. So, but I'm going to give it credit for the initial idea and the initial like interest of, what it does with the concept of Lego and also the satire and all of that stuff. And with that in mind, I'm going to put it between Deadpool and Die Hard. It's going to be just above Die Hard.
Okay, fair enough. There we go. So that is it. We have been selecting and reflecting on the Lego Movie because of the release of the Lego Movie 2. And by the way, Michael, just prediction, how good do you think the Lego Movie 2 is going to be?
I was very cynical of the first one. But I think, and obviously you can maybe say, well, cynical at the first time was quite good, but this time I think I'm going to double down. I think I'm going to say this time it is going to be bad. Apparently the Lego Batman movie was really good, but apparently the Lego Ninjago movie wasn't very good.
Yeah. So I
guess the problem with the Lego 2 is what else can they do? I mean, obviously they established the thing of like, it was like a joke at the end, oh, your sister can come play now. But yeah, I mean, let's be honest, that would be a bit like if at the end of Toy Story they had the whole thing where it was like he got a puppy for his birthday. Mm-hmm. And then the second one wasn't about them having a puppy. So
okay, well, I'll just tell you the plot. So 5 years after the events of the first film, Finn's sister Bianca has grown up and started taking some of Finn's Lego and other toys to play with in her own room. Metaphorically, in the Lego universe, the Duplo invaders have turned Bricksburg into a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
It is. Well, so it is what I said it wouldn't be. Well, I was like, it won't be just taking the joke at the end of the last one and making a film out of it. I think that makes me more cynical. Okay.
While his friends have become hardened over the change, Emmett remains upbeat, and he inadvertently draws the attention of General Sweet Mayhem from the System system. Jesus. Mayhem, with the help of the Duplo invaders, capture Emmett's friends and take them back to the shapeshifter Queen Whatever Wanabe, who has great plans for taking over the universe. Emmett teams up with his intergalactic hero Rex Dangervest to launch a rescue mission. I assume, by the way, that Queen Whatever Wanabe is played by Tiffany Haddish. She's in this. She's in everything Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that sounds not too promising because obviously it's, like I say, taking an idea that was just a throwaway joke in the first one and turning it into a whole thing. And also, like, what else can they do with it? They've already, I mean, like, yeah, it could be good, but I'm not that.
Yeah, well, let's give it a chance. Let's give it a chance.
Let's assume it will be bad. Let's not bother watching it when we become sitting members on the Academy Awards.
Predict a Rotten Tomato score. We're doing this new for 2019. Predict a Rotten Tomato score.
61.
Okay, I'm going to go for 82.
Okay.
Let's see who's right.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you for watching. We've been selecting and reflecting on the Lego Movie because of the release of the Lego Movie 2, the second part. That's literally what it's called, actually. The Lego Movie 2, the second part.
I feel like that's a bit of a... I'm going to throw out a criticism there. I think that's like a increasingly... There's that joke's being done like a lot more. Like, for example, you had Sharknado 2, the second one, and I think I've seen it again with another one, but I can't think of what other one.
Yeah. Just unironically putting what it is in the title. Okay, so yeah, next week we will be returning to our Oscar season. We just took a bit of a break. And we shall... Actually, this movie was nominated, I think, for Best Original Song for Everything Is Awesome.
Yeah.
In the 2015 Oscars. So yeah, technically we're still an Oscar movie-ish. So yeah, next week we will be doing Blade Runner.
Yes.
Which won the Oscar for Best Cinematography, I want to say.
Have you seen the original Blade Runner?
Yes, I have,
yes.
Okay.
I think we actually spoke about it before, and
all right.
You mentioned that you'd seen it. But I just wanted to remind myself.
Yeah, did it win Best Cinematography? Is that why we're doing it?
I am 99% sure. It might have also won Best Director. Although that might have been Shape of Water.
Yeah, I think it was Guillermo del Toro who won that for Shape of Water.
But it would have won Best Cinematography and maybe something else, like Best Set Design. No. It would have won something. We'll find out when we watch
Best Production Design, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so yeah, thanks for watching, and see you next week for Blade Runner. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Right, let's press the old stop button.